Let's talk a little bit about fundraising right now. What does it say to you that the Trump campaign hasn't been able to raise any real money? Only, what, $1.3 million in the bank right now. Your own fundraiser has said there's a crisis in effect. What does that say to you?
Well, I'll take them at their word, which was they were just winding down their primary campaign, and they haven't booted up their general election campaign, and that they started that in June. They didn't do that in May, which is the reporting period, so I'll just take them at their word on that.
Will you host some fundraisers for the Trump campaign?
I have no plans to, but it's basically because I'm helping House Republicans. I used to be the chairman of the Presidential Trust, which did help the eventual nominee before I became Speaker. Now that I'm Speaker, my goal and focus here is on House Republicans and keeping a strong majority.
You've also said that the only way your agenda gets passed if Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States and signs your legislative agenda into law. So isn't it in your best interest that he get elected president?
Yeah, I don't want Hillary Clinton to be president. I don't know how much clearer I can be on that, because I know one thing for sure. Hillary Clinton is going to promote a liberal judge at the Supreme Court, which means we effectively lose the Supreme Court for a generation, which means we drift further away from the Constitution. Point one. Point two, she is going to continue the Obama policy. She's all but doubled down on this and basically promised that. That is a step in the wrong direction. 70% of this country doesn't like the direction America is going. We agree with that. We need to go in a different direction. That is why we're offering a very affirmative, specific agenda on how to go in a different direction. And yes, I do believe a Republican president, a Donald Trump Republican president, is far, far more likely to help us put this country in a better direction than Hillary Clinton is. So yes.
So if you believe that, why not raise money for his campaign? Why not schedule fundraisers with him?
He can do fine on his own. We're trying to help House Republicans right now. So that's traditionally how it goes. I don't think John Boehner did a single fundraiser that I know of for Mitt Romney and myself. So I think you're trying to create an issue where none exists, which is the leader of the House helps the House, just like the leader of the Senate helps the Senate. The nominee is the one who's typically the draw, not the other way around.
I know you've said you'll vote for him, you support him, but I want to ask you a more basic question. Do you trust Donald Trump?
Look, well, I know the press likes these kinds of questions. We have a binary choice in front of us. A liberal progressive Democrat named Hillary Clinton, a Republican named Donald Trump. I prefer the Republican over the liberal progressive Democrat. That's the choice we got. That's the choice the voters in the primary gave us. That's the choice in front of us. It's binary and obvious to me.
But it's a simple question. Do you trust Donald Trump?
Like I said, it depends on the issue. Sometimes some things we don't agree on. Some things we do. We're going to have to learn to work together in a separate but equal branch of government to work on these things. And I do know and believe that, yes, he will be more likely to support the things that we believe in, the values, the principles, the solutions that we're calling for. And I know for a fact that Hillary Clinton won't.
You said on Sunday, and I'm quoting you now, you said the last thing you would do is tell anybody to vote contrary to their conscience. As you know, your former running mate, Mitt Romney, he's not going to vote for Donald Trump because he says his conscience doesn't let him. Do you have a clear conscience about supporting Donald Trump?
I do, because I, as Speaker of the House, believe that I have an obligation to try and keep my party and my conference unified. I do not think it would be helpful to be the highest elected Republican official in the country leading a split in the middle of our party to divide us in half and cut our party down the middle and guarantee the left wins the White House by default and guarantee the left takes the Supreme Court. Because of the role I have, I believe I have an obligation, and I'm being true to that obligation.
Speaking of what you said about not asking people to vote contrary to their conscience, you're the chair of the GOP convention. Are you signaling to delegates out there that you're open to adding what they call a so-called conscience clause to the convention rules, allowing delegates to prevent Donald Trump from becoming the party nominee?
No, the answer, it was Chuck who asked me this. The answer was about members of Congress and their endorsements and their conscience about whether they make an endorsement or not. I am not signaling anything to delegates because I really believe in my job, which I think is pretty ceremonial, as the chair of the conference, that I should not tell a delegate to do anything, one way or the other. I'm not trying to signal a single thing to a delegate because honestly, I see my job as being completely impartial and objective and not telling the delegates to do anything whatsoever. The question was whether or not a member of Congress, Reed Ribble from Wisconsin, whether or not I should hold it against him for speaking his conscience. And of course, I'm not going to do that. That was the answer to that question.
All right, Mr. Speaker, I want you to stand by for a moment. We have to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with details of your new proposal just released, an alternative to President Obama's health care law that's in effect right now. We'll take a quick break, much more right after this. Mr. Speaker, the Affordable Care Act, as you know, was signed back in 2010. It's now 6 years later. Why did it take so long to roll out this very detailed, lengthy alternative?
Well, first of all, we are rolling out a very detailed, lengthy alternative, a comprehensive alternative for Obamacare. That's very important. And one of the things is we now have spent 6 years on this issue where you had a lot of members of Congress offering alternatives. Tom Colbert and I had a comprehensive alternative. Congressman Tom Price, a physician, Phil Rowe, a physician, comprehensive alternatives. We now got all of ourselves on the same page. So we, as a unified House Republican caucus, have offered a comprehensive replacement of Obamacare. Obamacare is driving up premiums. It's reducing choice. Health insurance plans are dropping people left and right. We think the law is failing. It's not working. It's hurting families and businesses and jobs. And so we've offered a very comprehensive alternative here. And yes, this is consensus. This is, we win and we get a president who signs these into law, we can replace Obamacare and get a truly patient-centered healthcare system that is far, far better than what we've got right now.
Your plan, as detailed as it is, does not include any cost estimate or actual legislative language. Why not?
Because we're not passing a bill this year to have a guy named Barack Obama veto it. This is for 2017. Our entire agenda here is this is our 2017 agenda. That's why we're offering blueprints and not bills that we know will go nowhere with an Obama presidency. This is our plan to take to the country to ask for a mandate, for permission to put these in place with a president that can sign these into law in 2017.
What do you say to those Americans who are currently on Obamacare, they're getting health insurance, who would lose coverage under your plan?
I would say to them, relief is coming. We're going to give you more choices. We're going to give you access to more affordable health insurance. And yes, we're going to give you assistance. You're going to have assistance to be able to buy good health insurance. And if you do have a pre-existing condition problem, we also believe in making sure that you too can get affordable health care. And we have a better deal coming.
Just today, Donald Trump said he also wants to repeal and replace what he called job-killing Obamacare. Obamacare, he said, is the biggest job killer. But since 2010, when it went into effect, 10 million jobs have been created in the United States. So what he's saying about job killing isn't true, right?
I think that's kind of a non sequitur argument there. If you ask the CBO, they will tell you that I think it's something like 2 to 3 million hours job equivalent will not have been worked. Here's the problem with Obamacare. It disincentivizes work. It basically pays people not to work because as you go to work or make more money or get a better job, you lose by going off of Obamacare subsidies. So Obamacare has this perverse incentive which does actually kill jobs, not to mention the fact that it has huge tax increases that are killing jobs in things like medical devices. Oh, not to mention the fact that the cuts to the healthcare providers and the rationing that will come down the road will create a lot of job loss. So yes, it is a job killer in many ways. It's a job killer because it disincentivizes work. It's a job killer because it taxes manufacturing and producers. It's a job killer because it injects so much uncertainty in the healthcare community that they won't hire people as a result. So yes, it's a job killer on many different fronts. And that is why we think we are offering a better way. Go to better.gop and look at our plan.
And the only way it becomes the law is if there's a Republican president.
That's right.
Donald Trump. I assume he's on board with your plan because Hillary Clinton, if she were president, she would veto it.
She would not only veto it, she would just double down on Obamacare, and that's why we don't support Hillary Clinton. That's one of the reasons why we don't support Hillary Clinton.
Is Trump on board with your plan?
Yeah, he likes the direction we're going, and we have spent a lot of time talking about this. So yes, we are far more comfortable with the notion and the idea that he will help put this agenda into practice, into law, than we know Hillary Clinton will double down on a government-run healthcare system that is failing us miserably.
Mr. Speaker, thanks very much for joining us.
All right, thank you, Wolf. Take care.